Kyle, tell us first about First Book. Like, what is your organization, a nonprofit?
Yes, our organization is a nonprofit founded by myself and two friends more than 30 years ago. We've been dedicated for all these years to educational equity for kids in need. And that's why this issue of diverse books in the hands of those kids is so vital.
Yeah, and so it's really come to the forefront over the last year or so when we've talked about so many places banning books. But kind of cutting right to the chase, because I thought was really interesting, was your study regarding student reading time. Can we just start talking about that? Because I think that that's really interesting. We're always trying to get students, our own children, to read more, right?
Absolutely right. That should be a top priority in every community. And what we learned in this study is that the results can be extraordinary when you infuse books into classroom libraries. We studied 450 classrooms over a 6-month period, and we infused those classrooms with beautiful, diverse books. And then we watched what happened. And what we saw was just really compelling results. We noticed that the collective reading of the kids in those classrooms jumped by 4 hours per week, and their reading scores jumped by 3 points over expected national averages. So what we have to really pay attention to the data in these discussions nationally and locally. The data should drive our strategies. And what we learned from this study is that diverse books in the hands of kids are powerful tools.
And right. And so then did you learn about sort of the why, or extrapolate sort of why? Is it because, I mean, kids are seeing themselves in these books? Is it, I mean, you know, or learning about other cultures and other people?
I think that's exactly right. I think what happens is, you know, stories inspire all of us. And what we recognize is that when kids can see themselves in books, when they can see their families and their cultures reflected, that's very compelling for a kid. It's very engaging. And kids who read more are going to do better. They're going to want that next story. They're going to have their eyes open. They're going to celebrate their own cultures and also be exposed to the full range of diversity that our great country represents. You know, one thing I want to make sure that I note, though, is that this debate, this discussion sometimes gets distracted by a false narrative that what we need exclusively are, for example, Latino authors for Latino kids. Mm-hmm. And of course we do. Of course that's important. But the truth is every single kid needs to be exposed and needs to celebrate every culture that the world represents, because the world is getting more and more diverse. Our country is getting more and more diverse. And any kid who steps out into that grander arena without an exposure, without an understanding, mm-hmm. and an empathy toward others, they're going to be at a disadvantage.
Yeah, and that's very well said. Exactly. I mean, tell us a little bit about what First Book does. The study is very interesting, but you guys have been around for 30 years. So are you working at a local level? I'm not sure where you're based, but talk to us about what you do sort of day in and day out.
Well, First Book, we do have a 30-year track record of being completely focused on educational equity. And what we've done is we've listened. We've aggregated an unprecedented community of educators serving kids in need all across the country. In fact, in Texas, we have about 85,000 educators who are signed up with us. Nationally, we have a community of over 575,000 members. And we run a research arm so that we're constantly listening. What are the challenges in those classrooms? What do they need? What's working? What's not working? And that drives everything we do and everything we build. We've built an extraordinary nonprofit e-commerce site that provides books, ebooks, and a range of resources for our community of educators. And we move 15 or 16 million books, for example, through that system annually with a real focus on diversity of content.
Yeah, that's a lot of books. Kyle Zimmer, we appreciate you for joining us with First Book this morning. Have a great day.